Okay, good afternoon. The lecture this afternoon is on hemoglobinopathies and porphyrias. This is RBC Part 2. So when you're talking about porphyrias, it's best to have ourselves familiarized with what makes up this disease. So porphyrins are compound composed of four pyrrole rings connected by methane bridges. Now, the arrangement of the four nitrogen atoms in the center of porphyrin ring enables porphyrins to chelate various metal ions. Uh, an example of this would be iron. Some would be your magnesium. In disease states, a common chelated metal ion would be your zinc. Okay, so the biosynthetic intermediates between porphobilinogen and protoporphyrin are not actually porphyrins, but when they are reduced, these are known as your porphyrinogens. So just to remind you, this might be reminiscent of the one of the pathways shown in biochemistry. So this is heme synthesis pathway. So it begins with the combination of your succinyl-CoA plus glycine through the action of delta-aminolevulinic acid synthase. So the succeeding events bring about the synthesis of heme. Now, where does porphyria come in? Genetic porphyrias come in the event that these enzymes are absent or deficient. Now you see on the left side, included there would be the acquired porphyria and lead poisoning. Now lead poisoning was placed here because it has manifestations similar to porphyria. What is porphyria? It's a condition discovered early in Greece with a purple discoloration of body fluids. It actually has defects in the heme synthesis, as shown previously, with inherited enzyme deficiency or absence. So in acute attacks, ibig sabihin when you're manifesting symptoms, high levels of porphobilinogens are excreted. And these are the ones that are determined to see what type of porphyria you're having. So heme, as we all know, is a component of hemoglobin. It is required in the bone marrow for hemoglobin synthesis and in the liver for cytochrome synthesis. So what can trigger porphyria? So porphyria can be triggered by the following: the use of medications. Implicated in this trigger factor would be your barbiturates and the sulfonamides. The use of hormones such as estrogen. Also seen here would be the surge of estrogen during puberty stage or reproductive age. Alcohol use, smoking, infection, especially with viruses, exposure to sunlight, where you have your photosensitivity, emotional stress, and even physical stress, dieting and fasting, especially on low carbohydrate diet. So the porphyrins that leak out of the capillaries into the skin are thought to be the cause of your photosensitivity that may manifest through itching, erosions, or bullae formation. Another one would be your precursor substances that accumulates. They have been linked to the neurovisceral manifestations. Among those metabolites would be your delta-aminolevulinic acid, thought to be the chief offender. There are too many classifications of porphyrias that you will find in the book, but we will follow the classification given in Henry. So in Henry's, there is what we call the neurovisceral symptoms in isolation. This is seen in acute intermittent porphyria. Most common acute and probably the most common inherited porphyria. Inheritance is autosomal dominant, and this is caused by your porphobilinogen deaminase deficiency. So in the case that you have an acute attacks where you're manifesting symptoms, there will be elevation of your aminolevulinic acid, okay, and your porphobilinogen during this symptomatic period. So because this is neurovisceral, manifestations can range from a simple abdominal pain to nausea and vomiting. Some would have mental confusion likened to a psychiatric case or a motor neuropathy. Some would have problems in movements. Some would be accompanied by your tachycardia. So in the case that you have no attacks or no symptoms, the urine metabolites may even be normal in levels. So patient is hyponatremic during attacks, and one characteristic of acute intermittent porphyria is that the urine of these patients, when exposed to sunlight and air, they turn into dark red. So the reason for this is the oxidation to a porphyrin. So itong unang napapansin ng pasyente, pag ihi niya walang kulay. And then after a while, it becomes reddish. So they fear na baka may dugo. Okay? So symptoms typically begin at the time of puberty, kung kailan nagkakaroon ng hormonal surge. Some would be triggered by taking your hormones, yung mga pills, okay, yung mga estrogen-rich pills, okay? So that the prevention in AIP is the mainstay of treatment, okay? So avoidance of our trigger factors, like your drugs or medications, hormonal changes, and fasting. Another type of neurovisceral symptoms, this time with photosensitivity, is the variegate porphyria, which is also autosomal dominant. It gets its name because of the variegated and variable symptoms that may occur in the patient, may have cutaneous, neurovisceral, or both, occurring at the same time or simultaneously. So in here, you have 50% activity of protoporphyrinogen oxidase. So you have excretion and increased levels of fecal protoporphyrins and coproporphyrins, and urine ALA and PBG, as well as some amount of coproporphyrins. So ang dinidetermine pa rin, it would be your ALA and your PBG. Now, since this has cutaneous manifestations, most of the patients would be coming and going to your dermatologist because of bullae formation that starts with itchiness and erosion, especially when they are exposed to sunlight. So, nakikita yan kadalasan sa kamay. So, when you diagnose, you try to measure the metabolites that is present. Good family history, meron ba sa pamilya na meron yan? DNA analysis may help, although it is expensive, and avoidance of trigger factors, which remains the major approach. So another would be your hereditary coproporphyria, another type of porphyria with neurovisceral symptom plus photosensitivity. So this is also inherited in an autosomal dominant form. It is due to the deficiency of coproporphyrinogen oxidase. So ALA and PBG then is increased. And aside from preventing or avoiding the trigger factors, kasama sa prevention ngayon yung sunscreen. One of the most commonly encountered type of porphyria in the books would be your porphyria cutanea tarda. This one is photosensitivity plus hemolytic anemia. Okay, the deficient enzyme here is urod or uroporphyrinogen decarboxylase. So it has three types. Type 1, where hepatic urod is decreased. 2, where both hepatic and erythrocyte urod are decreased. And type 3, when hepatic urod activity is low. So patients with hemochromatosis are at increased risk for acquired PCT. So symptoms would be cutaneous, okay? Maybe due to mild trauma or sun-exposed areas. So yung may mga high levels of iron, katulad nga ng na-mention, ng hemochromatosis, would be at increased risk for developing acquired PCT. So you can see here, merong mga bullae formation that contains the mixture of plasma and blood, no? So pupunta yan sa sa dermatologist, sabihin bakit nagsusugat yung kamay. So after a while, and after determination and saying your family history, and telling the patient telling your physician the mga signs and symptoms, then you can now commit the disorder as porphyria cutanea tarda. Hindi ito masyadong common sa Pilipinas, no? Diagnostic laboratory findings would be through determination of increased uroporphyrins and urine coproporphyrins. So most of these patients, no, katulad nga no, nakikita merong manifestations under going to your dermatologist. One way to prevent it is to avoid alcohol because it is an inducer of hepatic ALA. And of course, your estrogens. Basically, avoiding your trigger factors. So management, if your patient is has hemochromatosis, high iron load, then you can do your phlebotomy. Some would employ the use of medication known as chloroquine to complex the porphyrins. In this complex, no, kapag ka na-bind na niya, okay, it is now ready for excretion. And of course, the use of sunscreen. So this type of porphyria, erythropoietic protoporphyria, is a photosensitivity in isolation. So the enzyme deficient here is ferrochelatase. Symptoms begin early, no? Ito yung mga bata pa lang na didetermine nila kasi once naglaro yung bata sa labas, no? And they are exposed to sunlight, they develop erythema. Some would mistake this as eczema, no? Eczema. Kaya minsan nami-miss and nagtatagal bago ang diagnosis. So this can have normal urine profile and RBC testing must be performed to render a diagnosis. Okay? So this is just a table showing you the key features of the major porphyrias with its exacerbating factors, clinical features, and of course, yung important would be the enzyme deficient. This other table here would show you the tests that can be done and what can be determined, what metabolites can be determined using your urine and fecal analysis. Okay? So let's now go to hemoglobin disorders. There are two main groups of inherited disorders. One belong to the structural variants with defects in the structure of globin, and the other one is thalassemias with defects in the synthesis of the globin chain. So normally you have normal hemoglobins. You have a component of hemoglobin. So in normal adult, you have hemoglobin A, a component of your alpha and beta. Ito yung at our age group would be of highest component. The fetal hemoglobin, which is the major hemoglobin of fetus and newborn. Okay, so this one decreases, no, as you age. So in adults, it's only 1%. And hemoglobin A2 accounting for 1.5 to 3.5 of the normal adult hemoglobin. So another type of hemoglobin would be your glycosylated hemoglobin, which constitutes 5% of hemoglobin A. Meron pa yung types, no? Hemoglobin A1A, A1B, and the most famous hemoglobin A1C. Now, glycosylation of hemoglobin, or what we call sometimes as glycation in some books, increases over 120-day lifespan of the red cell. Yung hemoglobin A1C, they have a molecule of glucose attached to the amino terminal group of each beta chain. So that in the 120 life span of RBC, you can note for the increase or the decline of your sugar, okay, yung glucose. So they are elevated 2 to 3 times in patients with diabetes mellitus. So that in the 120 lifespan, nakikita natin yung control ng glucose, depende sa levels. So because of the 120-day lifespan, so that you can take hemoglobin A1C every 2 to 3 months. Okay, it is now the index of metabolic control of diabetes. Okay, that is determined every 2 to 3 months. So aside from performing your FBS, your hemoglobin A1C is another test that you can use to determine and see if there is a good metabolic control of diabetes, good or not. Okay. So in testing for your hemoglobinopathies and thalassemias, you can do several tests that is readily available. In the laboratory, you can do your complete blood count with CBC, with your indices, a determination of the presence of hemoglobin H, a determination of iron, and you can do HPLC or high performance lipid chromatography for patients with thought to have hemoglobin variants. So marami naman tayong normal hemoglobins. Okay, you can have your other forms, and the alpha-like globins are encoded on chromosome 16, and the beta-like globins are encoded in chromosome 11. So napakadami daw nating hemoglobin variants, no? Aside from the normal hemoglobin, meron tayong mga hemoglobin variants that resulted either from mutation, termination errors, deletions, iba't ibang klaseng type of mutation. So the most common would be the most common and important are those belonging to hemoglobin S, C, E, and D. So because they are hemoglobin, they are thought to be protective against falciparum malaria infestation. I have read two probable reasons. One is that because they are abnormal, they can cause the lysis of red cells easily. So there is no time for the malaria organism to penetrate them. Or because of their abnormality, they make the red cell structure abnormal, which is impossible for the malaria organism to penetrate them. So whichever it is, they are protective against falciparum malaria. With the other types of malaria, I'm not so sure. It's only falciparum malaria that's listed. So what are the sickling disorders? Included, dalawa lang naman ito, the sickle cell trait and your sickle cell disease. Okay? Your sickle cell trait is heterozygous for hemoglobin S because there is the hemoglobin A that is present. This is thought to be the most common hemoglobinopathy, and basically this is asymptomatic, okay, unless the patient is exposed to a very low oxygen level. An example would be going to a high altitude in unpressurized airplanes, pumunta kang kalawakan or space, you become an astronaut where there's very thin and you're provided with very little oxygen, or you climb up very high mountain with thin oxygen level. So manifestations would be mostly vaso-occlusive in nature or hemolytic in manifestations. So what you see in your peripheral blood smear is the presence of target cells, of course, sickle cells, okay, preparation that is positive. So ano nga ba yung sickle cell? The sickle cells are cells that are of different shapes, sometimes C or S shape, that is tight and rigid, okay, because of polymerization, making the fluid turn into crystals. Di ba yung, let me see, okay, di ba, we always say, ano ba yung hemoglobin S? This is a type of mutation where your glutamic acid in the 6th position of the beta chain has been replaced by valine. Okay, so yung hemoglobin S makes the red cell unstable. So you can do a sickling test which will be positive, okay, because there are sickle cells. And the cells are prone to be sickled. Hemoglobin separation would show you that most of hemoglobin would be adult hemoglobin or hemoglobin A. and a little bit of hemoglobin F. A large portion would be your hemoglobin S, pero major pa rin ang hemoglobin A. Okay? To compare it with sickle cell disease, which is homozygous for hemoglobin S. So ito homozygous na to. So they present with serious chronic hemolytic anemia. So they are found mostly in blacks. Okay? Sickling occurs even at normal oxygen level. So they suffer from periodic and sometimes regular manifestations. So as I have said, no, kanina, and probably from your lecture in RBC, pag ang RBC loses its deformability, nawala na yung pagiging deformable. Ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng deformable? So they can bend, they can twist. Kasi nga, di ba? RBC has a central pallor. It's a biconcave disc, so they can fold and become deformable, so that when it passes through a smaller blood vessel, it can squeeze in. It can squeeze in. Pero kapag matigas na sila, like when you have a hemoglobin variance that's present in the red cell that makes them rigid and abnormal in the composition, nahihirapan na sila. It's either they hemolyze immediately, naglalyze na sila, or they can go and pack together to have thrombosis, to form thrombosis. So that the manifestations are from vaso-occlusive, okay, to hemolytic anemia. Okay, so they may occlude the blood vessels supplying the finger, supplying the bone, supplying several organs. Even the spleen, no? Ang spleen, initially, isi-sequester niya lahat yan kasi ang spleen is an organ of sequestration for abnormal cells, no? And later on, yung nagsusupply, the blood vessel supplying the spleen will also have this rigid sickle cells and they may block the blood supply. So ano nangyari sa spleen? Initially malaki kasi dami niyang na-sequester. And then magliliit siya bigla. This is what you call as autosplenectomy that occurs in sickle cell disease. So this is the appearance of your sickle cell. You see the appearance of these rigid cells, okay? Something like parang letter S, no? Letter C. And you see the target cells that are present. So what do you mean by polychromasia? Polychromasia in peripheral blood smear, because peripheral blood smears are usually stained with right stain. They will turn parang merong bluish tinge. Okay? That's polychromasia. It's suggestive that most of the RBCs might probably be reticulocyte. So, i-stain mo yan ng supravital stain, makita mo reticulocyte. So, what is the meaning of having too many reticulocytes in your circulation? Ibig sabihin, lumalabas na yung mga immature red cells because the body is calling for it because madaming hemolysis nangyayari, madaming red cell ang hindi nakaka-reach ng circulation, madaming red cell ang namamatay. So, as a response, the bone marrow now produces red cell pero lumalabas din sila kahit immature pa sila. You also see normoblasts in the bone marrow. Okay, so this is just a simple pathogenesis showing you the hemoglobin S with deoxygenation causing polymerization and formation of sickle cells. Okay, they become hardened, they become stiff. So when they are irreversibly sickled, they can lyse, okay, or they can cause microvascular occlusion. This is just a representation, no? So what are how do you test for them? You can do your sickling test. You can do electrophoresis to see the components. Ano bang meron? Ano bang types ng hemoglobin present? Treatment is exchange transfusion, okay, for sequestration crisis and acute chest syndrome. You can give them hydroxyurea for two reasons. One is that because it increases red cell hemoglobin F levels. Bakit mo gusto yung hemoglobin F? Kasi mas may affinity siya sa oxygen. And two, it has an anti-inflammatory effect. So most of these patients are susceptible to develop infection. Okay? So yun yung nagiging function ng hydroxyurea to contain and probably help in the inflammation brought about by the different diseases when you have sickle cell disease. So it is nice but nice to see really sickle cell. So you have to view your PBS, your peripheral blood smear, because it will be of great help in the diagnosis. So this is just to show you, you see the sickle cells, you see target cells. So there is marked aniso, okay, poikilocytosis. Aniso, poikilocytosis, aniso, change in cell size, poikilo, change in variation in cell shapes. Okay, there is polychromasia. I have explained that. Of course, if you stain this with supravital staining, you will see increased numbers of reticulocytes. And there is leukocytosis and with left shift. Ibig sabihin, nanuka sa left, ibig sabihin left shift, more immature WBC. Okay, and you can see thrombocytosis. Now, going to thalassemias, these are conditions wherein the globin chains are usually of normal structure but are produced in decreased rate. So, beta thalassemia is a decreased production of beta chains, and alpha thalassemia is a condition referring to decreased production of the alpha chain. Di ba? Magka-pair yan, alpha and beta. So, in alpha chain, when it is decreased, there is decreased hemoglobin tetramers in red cells, kaya lumiliit ang red cell. So you would have decreased MCV and MCH, which is the picture or the red cell index picture of thalassemia, microcytic hypochromic. So thalassemias are common in persons of Mediterranean, African, and Asian ancestry. Marami class ang Pilipinong mayroong thalassemia. Yung iba lang hindi natin alam o hindi nila alam. So there are three types of thalassemia: major, intermediate, and minor. When we say major, you have severe manifestations and they are transfusion dependent. Intermediate, you have less severe symptoms, and minor, which is almost just a carrier state or trait. Okay, sometimes unnoticed, hindi mo malalaman. Pagka lang nakita mo yung blood picture, that's the only time that you will know that you have thalassemia. Another classification would be based on the genes affected. It may be either heterozygous or homozygous state. It's either absent or reduced rate of globin synthesis or because of specific mutations. Okay? So, in beta thalassemia, most are associated with a single base substitution producing a decreased or unstable mRNA. So there is what we call as the absent beta thalassemia, where you have beta chain synthesis that is not present or absent. So the mRNA becomes non-functional. Or in reduced type of beta thalassemia, where beta globin chains are present but are synthesized in reduced quantity or producing and thereby producing unstable or decreased amounts of mRNA. So actually the absence or the decrease in the production is a main problem, no? Kukunti na po produce so that the aggregates of alpha chains na walang kapartner in its absence are produced. So these are the ones that are unstable and they are the ones that precipitate in the red cell, causing the damage because their degradation products like the heme, the hemin, and the iron becomes foci for regeneration or for generation of reactive oxygen species. Alam niyo naman na yung sunod doon. So it's harmful for the cell and the body as well. So this is the picture of thalassemia major or the Cooley's anemia. They are hypochromic, microcytic, maliit, at maputla. So there is extreme poikilocytosis. You see a lot of different cells. You see nucleated red cells. You see abnormal cell sizes and shapes. Okay? So one manifestation would be, of course, would be hemolysis that is manifested through jaundice. Now another would be the prominence of the bone prominence. Okay? It's a result of ineffective erythropoiesis. So this just shows you that when the beta globin chains are reduced, there will be excess unpaired alpha chains. And the alpha chains that precipitate has these insoluble inclusions that give rise to the problem. So ito yung reason why you would have your ineffective erythropoiesis that may result into your bone changes, even hepatosplenomegaly, persistent and progressive anemia. So this is just another picture to show you what happens in beta thalassemia major. So another picture showing new bone formation on the outer table. While in Cooley-Streight or thalassemia minor, this is caused by your absent beta thalassemia gene or the reduced beta thalassemia gene, okay, with reduced beta globin chain synthesis. Hindi masyado ang manifestations nito unless they are coupled with another disease that may precipitate a severe form of anemia. Generally, they would have mild anemia. So ang RBC is elevated, MCH is low, MCV is low, kaya nga ang mga thalassemia pa rin, K major, K minor, they are microcytic hypochromic types of anemia. So you can see moderate degree of microcytosis, hypochromia. Target cells are seen as well as basophilic stipplings. So these are just the signs and symptoms. Most of them are referable to the anemia that is present and the ineffective erythropoiesis. So these are the complications. Because some of the patients would be requiring regular transfusion, they are prone to the infections associated with blood transfusion, increased iron, and those belong with toxicities of iron chelation therapy. And of course, bacterial infection kasi nagkakaroon ka ng some form of weakening of the immune system. So these are the other complications. While alpha thalassemias are generally due to gene deletion of various lengths, alpha thalassemia has deletion of both alpha globin genes which directs no alpha globin chain synthesis. Ito yung mga absent alpha thalassemia gene. But there are 4 important syndromes, okay? First is your hemoglobin Bart's hydroxyfetalis, where you have complete absence of alpha chains. This is incompatible with life, Infants become stillborn with severe anemia and marked anemia, anisopoikilocytosis. The appearance of the child is similar to the erythroblastosis fetalis in RH or blood incompatibility. So the blood picture shown here shows you a lot of nucleated red cells and immature red cells. Another one is your hemoglobin H disease. Kaya nga sa determination and assessment of hemoglobinopathies, kailangan na di-determine ang presence ng hemoglobin H. Hemoglobin H disease when you have 3 out of 4 genes are absent. Okay? There is a chronic hemolytic anemia with clinical picture of thalassemia intermedia, okay, or intermediate thalassemia, with few symptoms, okay. So transfusion is rarely needed. Okay? In alpha thalassemia trait, you have absence of 2 alpha genes resulting in clinical features. Ito naman reminiscent of beta thalassemia minor. So meron silang counterparts, Okay. So you have 5 to 10% of hemoglobin Bart's when you determine that in the blood court of newborn babies. The silent carrier alpha thalassemia, you have 1 out of 4 genes. This is compatible with life. hematologic findings are almost normal except for a slight decrease in MCV. So ito yung mga hindi nagmamanifest masyado. So this just shows you the alpha thalassemia syndromes with their functional, a number of functional genes and their phenotype. Okay, so this is a short lecture. I hope you find time to go over this one. A copy of the PowerPoint presentation will be given to you. Again, thank you very much for listening and have a good day.
Okay, you can log out if you're done. You can download the lecture from Moodle.